The containment facility on Epsilon Station had been abandoned for 3 solar cycles. Its automated system still hummed with life, maintaining atmospheric pressure and basic life support. But no sentient being had walked its corridors since the day the Galactic Council declared Subject X7 too dangerous to study. Dr. Mara Quinn stood before the massive reinforced viewport, her breath fogging the cold plexus steel as she gazed into the cavernous chamber beyond. In the dim emergency lighting, she could barely make out the shape of the creature the galaxy had abandoned. "This is madness," her assistant, Patel, whispered behind her. "The Council classified this facility as a hazard zone. If they find us here, then they'll have to answer why they left a living being to die alone in the dark." Mara cut him off, her voice sharp with conviction. She pressed her palm against the access panel, overriding the lockdown protocols with codes she'd spent months acquiring through less-than-legal channels. The chamber doors hissed open, and the stench hit them immediately. Decay, waste, and something else. Something primal that made every instinct scream at Mara to run. But she didn't run. She never had. Korthul lay in the far corner of the chamber, a mountain of chitinous armor and matted fur. The creature was easily 20 meters long, with 6 limbs ending in talons that could shred through starship hulls. Its multiple eyes, once bioluminescent according to the records, were dim and clouded. The beast that had terrorized the mining colonies of Rigel 7, that had killed 47 beings before its capture, now looked like nothing more than a dying animal. "Dear God," Patel breathed. "It's worse than I thought." Mara was already moving forward, her scanner raised. "It's malnourished, dehydrated, and suffering from multiple infections. The automated feeders stopped working cycles ago." Her jaw clenched. "They just left it." The Council's logic had been coldly efficient. Korthul's species was unknown, its aggression patterns unpredictable, and the cost of maintaining containment indefinitely was deemed excessive. When diplomatic solutions failed and euthanasia proved impossible with their current technology, the bureaucrats had simply chosen to forget, to let nature or negligence take its course. But humans didn't forget. Humans had a peculiar relationship with lost causes. Mara approached slowly, her movements deliberate and unthreatening. Korthul's massive head lifted slightly, and a low rumble emanated from deep within its chest. Not quite a growl, but not welcoming either. Its eyes tracked her with dim awareness. "Easy, big one," Mara murmured, her voice soft. "I'm not here to hurt you. Nobody's going to hurt you anymore." Over the following weeks, Mara established a routine that scandalized the scientific community and baffled the Galactic Council. She moved into the facility, bringing medical equipment, proper nutrition synthesizers, and something no other species had thought to provide: patience. The other races had studied Korthul as a specimen, a problem to be solved or eliminated. Mara studied it as a living being. She discovered that Korthul was not naturally aggressive. The mining operations on Rigel 7 had destroyed its nesting grounds, flooded its habitat with industrial toxins, and killed its mate. The creature's rampage hadn't been mindless violence. It had been grief. Each day, Mara would sit at the edge of the chamber, talking softly, while Korthul ate the carefully prepared meals she provided. She treated its wounds, cleaned its enclosure, and most importantly, she stayed. When other xenobiologists from a dozen species contacted her, warning that she was wasting her career on a lost cause, she simply replied, "That's what they said about Earth's wolves, bears, and great apes too. We didn't listen then either." Slowly, impossibly, Korthul began to change. The creature started responding to Mara's voice, its massive head turning toward her when she entered the chamber. The growls became less frequent, replaced by a curious chirping sound that Mara's translator struggled to interpret. One morning she arrived to find Korthul had moved the debris in its chamber into a neat pile, the first sign of cognitive organization beyond base survival instinct. The breakthrough came on day 47. Mara had been cleaning a particularly nasty wound on Korthul's lower back when she slipped on the wet floor, crying out as she fell. Before she could hit the ground, a massive talon caught her, gently, impossibly gently, and set her back on her feet. Korthul's eyes, now bright and clear, regarded her with what could only be described as concern. "Thank you," Mara whispered, her hand resting on the creature's armored hide. For the first time in months, she felt the vibration of something like a purr, News of the tamed monster spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Galactic Council, initially furious at Mara's unauthorized intervention, found themselves facing a public relations nightmare. How could they justify abandoning a creature that was clearly intelligent and capable of peaceful coexistence? Ambassador Thrixlon of the Centauri Collective visited the facility, his crystalline features reflecting his skepticism. Dr. Quinn, this is remarkable, but surely you understand this is an anomaly. Korthul's species is inherently dangerous. No, Mara interrupted, standing beside the massive alien beast that now followed her like a devoted companion. Korthul's species is misunderstood. Just like humans were once considered too violent, too emotional, too unpredictable for galactic society. She smiled grimly. Funny how we keep proving you wrong. Korthul's massive head lowered and Mara scratched behind what passed for its ears. The creature's contentment was palpable, its gentle rumbling filling the chamber. The ambassador watched in silence, then finally spoke. What you've done here defies all conventional xenobiological protocols. Yes, Mara agreed. It does. It's inefficient, emotionally driven, and completely illogical by council standards. Also, yes, Thrixlon's crystals flickered, the equivalent of a sigh, which is precisely why the council has voted to grant you full authority over the Korthul rehabilitation program. Apparently, the galaxy needs more human illogic. 6 months later, Korthul stood on the ramp of a transport ship, preparing to return to a carefully restored habitat on Rigel 7. The creature had grown stronger, healthier, and had even begun communicating through a complex series of vocalizations that Mara's team was still deciphering. As the beast turned to board, it paused, its massive form bending low. Mara stepped forward, pressing her forehead against Korthul's armored snout in a gesture that had become their goodbye. Be good out there, she whispered. And remember, you were never a monster. You were just lost. And humans? We're really good at finding lost things. Korthul's response was a gentle trill, a sound of understanding and gratitude that needed no translation. As the ship lifted off, Patel stood beside Mara, watching the transport disappear into the stars. You know the council thinks we're crazy, right? They're calling this typical human sentimentality. Mara smiled, her eyes never leaving the sky. Let them. Because while they were calculating costs and acceptable losses, we were remembering that every life, no matter how strange or scary, deserves a chance. That's the human way? That's the human way, Mara confirmed. We don't abandon the lost. We bring them home. And in the vast darkness of space, aboard a ship heading toward a second chance, a creature once called a monster learned that gentleness was not weakness, and that in human hands even the forgotten could be found again.